What's good, y'all? It's Steven. I'm back on the Splitmind channel. As you guys have probably noticed, it's been a minute since I last uploaded a video. And to be honest, I've just been doing a lot of other shit. I've definitely been staying busy and working on a lot of stuff that hopefully y'all can get to see soon. So yeah, over the past few months, I've just been working with a lot of super fire people. Really a lot of the people that got me into making music in the first place, which is super crazy to me. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably have seen a couple fire people that I've been working with lately. A few fire producers to name would be people like Section 8, Q Beats. The other day I got some working with Tay Keith, Chichi, and Section 8, which was super fire. And yeah, there's just been a lot of cool stuff I've been working on behind the scenes. I'm super excited to get back into making YouTube videos because I really miss making shit for you guys. I've still definitely been keeping up with dropping kits on Drumify. Me and Jackie just dropped our Cosmos V3 sample library. It has 10 super fire collabs from us and 5 solo loops from each of us as well. If you guys want to check that out, there's going to be a link down in the description. But yeah, other than that, I'm just going to get into the video. I know that you guys have probably been dying to see me break down a recent sample of mine. So that's pretty much exactly what I'm going to be doing in today's video. And this particular sample is actually the one that Chichi, Section 8, and Tay Keith used. So yeah, now that everything's out the way, now I'm going to start breaking down the sample for you guys. As you guys can probably tell, it's a different day. I was actually having some technical difficulties the first time that I tried to record, but now we're back. So yeah, first things first, here's the sample that I'm going to be breaking down. This is actually the sample that Tay Keith, Chichi, and Section 8 used. So yeah, here's what it sounds like. So yeah, now I'm going to start breaking down the different elements of this sample. So as you guys can probably hear, the main element of this sample is actually a real sample I found off of YouTube. And so here's what it sounds like before I manipulated it at all. So yeah, as you guys can probably hear, I didn't really chop up the sample or mess with the different parts of it. I kind of just left it how it was. I think the only real thing that I did was slow and pitch it down, so I pitched it down by 3. The first effect that I added to this was the Abbey Road chambers, and this is like a reverb room sound. It kind of just made it sound like it was in a room and gave it a cool tone. The next plugin that I added was this Wolf compressor, and as you guys can see, I really didn't add that much compression. I just like the Wolf compressor for making things sound a little bit more vintage. Once I had those two, I added the Abbey Road plates plugin, and this is just a pretty simple reverb. And then finally, I just took out all the lows and boosted some of the mid frequencies. So once I had the main melody, I wanted to add some counter melody of my own. So I actually went into the Prince by Frank Dukes, and I grabbed this sound called Cruel System. I actually just started using the Prince recently, and I really like it. It definitely has some cool textures and tones to it. And pretty much for this sound, I just played over the main melody and the sample, but on the synth. So you guys will hear what I mean. As you guys can tell, I kind of just messed around on my MIDI keyboard until I came up with the same melody from the original sample. On this synth, I really just wanted to have a lot of textures around it. So the first plugin that I went to was obviously Portal. I went into Pilgrim's Bank and I chose a preset called Giant. If you guys don't know about Portal, it's a super fire granular plugin. It can really just manipulate and twist sounds into completely new sounds. It's definitely my favorite plugin for coming up with ear candy or texture shit. But yeah, me and Pilgrim actually have a super fire and popular bank called the Illusions Bank. It's available on Drumify if you guys want to check it out. And then moving on, the only thing that I added was this Echo Boy with the preset called Funk Fuzz. And again, the purpose of this was just for a cool texture. And then once I had the first part of the sample, I definitely wanted to transition the sample into another portion, just to try and like tell a story in the sample, if that makes sense. So my main goal in this part of the sample was to give the drummer a straight chop that they could just repeat over and over. So I found this part in the sample and I just manipulated it a little bit. And once I had it on grid, this is what it sounds like. and I pretty much just looped that one chop over and over and over. On this chop, the only plugin that I added was the Wolf compressor. I left the compression at default value, and I just turned on the lo-fi a little bit. And then in the B section, I kind of went for the same idea. That was mainly geared towards trying to find a cool texture. So I went into the prints again, and I found this preset called Direct Ash, and here's what that sounds like. As you guys can tell, there's definitely a lot of ear candy in this part of the sample. For this synth, I kind of used the same process that I did on the last synth. I got another preset from Pilgrim's Bank called Someone, and this gave it a cool granular sound. And then I added the Wolf compressor again, but this time I went to the presets and chose this preset called Bad 1990s Digital. This gave it like a bit crushed effect and kind of just made it sound a little shitty. After that, I went into the Echo Boy again, but this time I grabbed the preset called Distort Echo. This was kind of just to give it a little bit of saturation. As you guys can tell, the saturation is all the way at the top. And then other than that, I just added some simple effects like pancake to pan it from left to right, and this pretty basic EQ that just takes out a lot of the mud. So after I had the A and B section complete, I actually wanted to add a third section. With a sample like this, I really wanted to tell a story and just to have it going through a bunch of different parts. So what I did for this section is I added GHZ Lossy on the original first part of the melody, and I chose this preset called Singing Glasses, which is like a super sharp filter, and it also gives like a little bit of reverb, which is cool. So here's what that sounds like. So as you guys can tell, it definitely sounds like I took down the sample rate, which was kind of the goal. And so for this part, I definitely wanted to add some more synths, and I decided to add a bass first. This bass is one of my favorite basses in the Juno from Arturia, and it's called Funky Bass. I just kind of messed with some of the I just kind of messed with some of the modulations on it and kind of just tweaked it to how I wanted it to sound. The only plugins I added were this R bass and then this thermal with the Club Clipper preset on it. So here's what the bass sounds like by itself. And as you guys probably know to do, I just followed the root notes of the main sample. And then with this last part, I actually added another synth from the Prince called Crystal Horizon, and I played out a top line that sounds like this. Since this preset actually came with a lot of effects, the only plugin that I added was this saturator from Waves. This was just to give it like a distortion effect and just kind of make it sound a little bit more analog. And then I just took out some of the highs and the lows. So once I had that, pretty much the only thing that I did to this sample was I just rendered this whole portion of the sample and half-timed it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this sample. Hopefully you guys learned something. Shout out to Take Keith, Section 8, and Chichi for flipping it. It sounded super fire. And yeah, I'm excited to be back on the channel. It's been a minute, but I'm definitely looking forward to doing more videos consistently. I also just ordered a bunch of new gear, so I'm about to deck out my room with a lot of cool gear. So I'll definitely have some crazy content for you guys moving forward. I think a cool idea is going to be a pedal cam, which is pretty much just going to be a docu cam of my pedal board. So that'll be definitely cool for you guys to see. And then other than that, be sure to go check out my kits on Drumify. There's going to be links down in the description. And by the time you're seeing this, my new sample library might be out. It's definitely some of my craziest shit yet, so be sure to go check that out. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at @StevenSchaefer_. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.